The stars had witnessed 1,000 conquests. General Kale Veron of the Vreth Dominion had personally overseen 19 of them. 19 worlds brought to heel beneath the silver banners of his fleet. 19 civilizations that screamed, bargained, wept, and ultimately kneeled. He was not a cruel being by nature. He simply understood the mathematics of the universe. The strong consumed the weak, and the Vreth were very, very strong. Earth was supposed to be number 20. The briefings had been thorough. The humans were a young species, barely 300,000 years of biological existence, a laughable blink compared to the Vreth's 11 million. Their technology was primitive. Their political systems were chaotic, fractured, almost comedically disorganized. Their star system sat at the quiet edge of the Orion Arm, surrounded by nothing of military value. And yet something in the intelligence reports made Kale's secondary heart beat irregularly. A footnote. A detail so strange that his analysts had flagged it 3 times before he finally read it himself. The humans keep the predators. Commander Ethan Cross stood at the loading ramp of the USEF vessel Relentless and watched the sun rise over the Kenyan highlands for what he suspected might be the last time. Behind him, Sergeant Mira Osei was running final checks on the biosecure containment units. 12 of them, each the size of a transport truck. Each one breathing. "Cross," she said, not looking up from her datapad. "Vlad is restless again. He ate the polymer lining on Unit 3. Give him a full rack of ribs and a tire. He'll calm down. We're rationing the tires. Then give him 2 racks of ribs." Vlad was a 340-kilogram Siberian tiger, the largest living specimen in human captivity. He was also, in Ethan's professional assessment, the calmest member of the team until something annoyed him. Then he became a problem that required 2 racks of ribs and occasionally a new door. Ethan Cross had spent 15 years as a wildlife biologist, 12 as a special forces operator, and the last 4 heading Beast Division, Biological Enhancement and Adaptive Strike Teams. When the Vreth fleet first appeared at the edge of the solar system and humanity scrambled for a response, most generals wanted missiles, satellites, orbital defense platforms. Ethan had walked into the Joint Chiefs briefing room, set a tablet on the table displaying footage of a saltwater crocodile eating a GoPro camera, and said, "Gentlemen, I'd like to introduce you to 4 billion years of applied weapons research." They'd laughed. They'd funded him anyway, because nobody had a better idea. The first contact happened above the Martian moon Deimos. Kale's flagship, the Dominion's Voice, hung in space like a cathedral made of black iron, its flanks etched with the victories of 1,000 campaigns. He watched the human vessels approach on his tactical display, small, stubborn little ships, too slow and too few. But they were not alone. The readings confused his science team for exactly 40 seconds. Then Lieutenant Prethe A., his chief xenobiologist, turned from her console with an expression Kale had never seen on her face before. "General," she said carefully, "the humans appear to have launched living organisms into space." Kale turned. "Weapons drones?" "No, sir. They are biological entities. Carbon-based. Unshielded. Breathing recycled atmosphere in individual sealed units." She paused. "They are animals, General. Creatures from the surface of Earth. Hundreds of them." A silence fell across the bridge. "That's..." Kale searched for the right word. "Barbaric." "Yes," said Prethe. "But sir, I'm reading a Bengal tiger, 2 African lions, 1 creature the database identifies as a grizzly bear, and something enormous in Unit 7 that our scanners can't fully categorize. Its metabolic signature is..." She looked up, eyes wide. "General, whatever is in Unit 7 is angry." Unit 7 contained a bull elephant named Sergeant Bangani who had been specifically chosen because he had once flipped a military jeep out of what the handlers described as pure attitude. Ethan had personally spent 6 months earning Bangani's trust. It remained, he would say privately, the proudest achievement of his career. The Vretha's first boarding action was textbook. 30 of their elite shock troopers, the Vethrak, seasoned veterans who had broken the will of the Iridian Collective in under a week, materialized in the cargo hold of the Relentless via their precision teleportation array. They had reviewed the human military files. They knew about human soldiers, bipedal, fragile, slow to heal, prone to panic. What they did not know, what could not have been briefed adequately, was that the moment they materialized in the cargo hold, the biosecure seals on Units 1 through 6 failed simultaneously due to a small explosive charge that Sergeant Osei had set precisely for this moment. The next 4 minutes were not recorded in official Vreth military history. They were, however, reconstructed later from the audio logs of the single shock trooper who managed to teleport back to the flagship. His account, translated from Vreth into English, was 8 words long. There are things on this ship that should not exist. Ethan moved through the aftermath with a torch and a calm that his subordinates found genuinely unsettling. The Vethrak were gone, routed, fled, a handful unconscious and zip-tied to a support strut, waiting for the xenolinguistics team. The animals had been coaxed back into their units with practiced efficiency and truly heroic quantities of food. He stopped at Unit 7. Bangani regarded him from behind the transparent barrier with an expression of supreme, unimpressed dignity. "Good work," Ethan said quietly. Bangani flapped one enormous ear. It was, Ethan had learned, his way of saying obviously. General Kale Veyron reviewed the footage for 3 hours. He reviewed it alone, which was important, because Kale Veyron was the most decorated military commander in Vreth history, and he could not have his crew see his face while he watched it. He had fought the silicon warforms of the Mekani Collective. He had broken the psychic assault of the Lethuri Hive. He had once stood on the bridge of his flagship while a dying star collapsed 40,000 kilometers off his port side and felt nothing but professional curiosity. He watched a 9-foot brown bear make 30 of his finest soldiers reconsider every life decision they had ever made, and Kale Veyron felt something ancient and biological claw its way up through 11 million years of Vreth civilization. He felt afraid. Not of the bear specifically. Of the idea. Of the species that looked at a bear, that looked at a tiger, at an elephant, at the terrible cold patience of a crocodile, and did not flee. Did not eradicate. Did not build walls and tremble behind them. The humans had befriended these things. Collaborated. Convinced creatures that could end them with a single motion to stand beside them instead. What kind of mind does that? What kind of species earns the loyalty of monsters? The diplomatic channel opened 6 hours later. Ethan Cross appeared on the screen, sitting at a plain metal table, his uniform unremarkable, his face calm. There was, Kale noticed, a very large orange cat sitting on the table beside him, blinking slowly. That was Duchess, a 180-pound hybrid caracal. She was technically off the mission roster. She had teleported herself onto the ship 3 days before departure and nobody had been able to convince her to leave. "Commander Cross," said Kale, through the translator. "I would like to discuss terms." "I thought you might," said Ethan. "The Vreth Dominion does not negotiate from a position of weakness," Kale said carefully. "But we are reassessing our tactical intelligence regarding Earth." "That's a reasonable response," said Ethan. "Your biological units." Kale paused. "Are they representative of Earth's fauna?" Ethan considered the question. "The ones we brought?" "They're the cooperative ones." A long silence. "The cooperative ones," Kale repeated. "We couldn't exactly get a permit to launch a great white shark into orbit," Ethan said. "And the hippos were a logistical nightmare. But yes, in general terms, the animals we work with are the ones that agreed to work with us. The rest of them are back home, doing their own thing." Kale's secondary heart did that irregular beat again. The ones that agreed to work with us. 11 million years of civilization. 19 conquered worlds. A fleet that had made stars tremble. and across from him sat a human with a large cat on his desk, explaining that the animals humanity had decided to work with were the friendly ones. "Commander Cross," said Kale slowly, "I would like to propose a full cessation of hostilities and the establishment of a permanent diplomatic mission." Duchess yawned, revealing approximately 36 very white teeth. "That," said Ethan Cross, "sounds like a great idea." The Vreth Dominion did not attempt a second approach to Earth. In their historical records, updated after the incident at Deimos, a single annotation was added to the file on humanity. "Do not mistake cooperation for weakness. The humans are not protected by their weapons or their walls. They are protected by 4 billion years of evolution, and everything that survived it alongside them. There was no World 20.